So, Dal, I found a thing today
Okay.
that is just going to blow comics retail wide open for us.
Ready for it.
The Ultimate Guide to Comic Books.
Ooh.
It is a square-bound magazine from the Hollywood Spotlight.
Ooh.
Everything you need to know from the Golden Age to today.
Start over. What's the Golden Age?
Read the magazine and find out.
Jesus.
Seminal stories and event series. Indies, horror, underground, and more.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers,
The lowest of all entertainment.
a comics industry business podcast with
The scummiest of the scum, the lowest of the low, the stinkiest of the stinky. Patrick Brower. Brower the Sour, they call him.
and
W. Dal Bush. It's so bad. It's such a hideous name, Dal.
Now, we may have been doing this podcast for over 14 years. Challengers may have been in business for over 15 years. And at the point this episode goes out, I will have just celebrated my 33rd year as a full-time comic book retailer. But all of that passage of time pales in comparison to where we're starting this episode. This episode of Contest of Challengers starts back in the 1950s.
How are we recording this? Do they even have electricity then?
I sent you that box with a empty vegetable can with a string on it.
I didn't open that. Oh, God.
Oh. Well, let's just pretend.
Okay.
It's
We'll start pretending now.
this is all being put on a wax cylinder. In the 1950s, my parents bought a brand new refrigerator. It was a Crosley, and it was gorgeous. It was rounded. It had fins. It had one of those big
Have a spoiler on the back.
on the top.
Racing stripes.
It had one of those big, like, U-shaped handles that just goes ka-chunk
Nice.
when you open it.
Sure.
It was one door opened it, and then the freezer was a little pull-down section
Wow.
at the top
Okay.
on the inside.
Sure.
And it was built to last.
Everything was back then.
I grew up with that refrigerator as our basement refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the beer refrigerator.
Sure.
It had been repainted brown to match the decor of the basement.
It was repainted brown.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
What a choice.
So it was, there was a point where the Brower household had the refrigerator and freezer upstairs, a dedicated freezer in the basement for stuff.
Deep freeze, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Crosley, which was the bar refrigerator.
Sure.
And then I had a townhouse out in Villa Park, and my parents wanted to get a new refrigerator upstairs. And this is a very even this specific, I don't know what to call it, pattern of behavior is a thing that we do it to challengers to this day. When you get a new thing, everything goes down a generation.
Sure.
It's like, when you have older siblings, clothes go down.
Sure.
So they were getting a new refrigerator for upstairs, which meant that their other refrigerator was going into the basement and the Crosley was going away. So I'm like, well, I'll take the Crosley.
Sure.
And I brought it home, loaded it up in whatever I had, brought it home, somehow got it over. I don't know what it was driven over in, but I do remember that Mike Wall was helping me that day, and to get it into my house and down the basement, we had to take off the door, the door of the refrigerator.
Okay.
But not realizing that the door had an in-unit butter cooler in the door itself. I had a little, like a closed compartment.
Neat. Okay.
Which needed its own separate cooling.
Uh-huh.
So there were cooling wires and connections that went from the refrigerator to the door.
Okay.
So we could take the door off, but it wasn't separated.
Sure.
It was just loose.
Right.
So it could be positioned. Anyway, that fridge lived in the basement in my townhouse in Villa Park for a while until I decided we wanted a refrigerator at Challengers. We wanted to have sodas and water on the sales floor.
Right.
So, over a period of a few weeks, I sanded that puppy down, repainted it red, and then sealed it so it was nice and shiny.
Sure.
Not as fancy as a new car,
Right.
but it looked better than it had been.
Sure.
It was red.
Yeah.
And it was going to go to the store to be our cooler.
Yeah, to sell soda and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So George came over to help me get it out, and we brought it up the stairs. And I'm like, yeah, Mike and I had to take the door off to get it through, but somehow George and I didn't have to. And I had a deck that led out to a median where all the parking was. And on the way out the back door, we clipped the Freon line.
Oh.
And you just immediately started hearing it go.
Oh.
So we're like, oh no.
Oh no.
So like quickly get away from the exposed Freon, and like that's it.
Yeah. No fixing that.
That fridge was dead.
Yeah.
All of that work, all that effort,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and it never made it to the
Never
store.
did.
And it lived from like 1953 until, I don't know, 2009 or something.
Did you bury it in the yard?
Well, we threw it into the yard. Look, you know us. At that point, when something is dead
Uh-huh.
and we have a deck,
Uh-huh.
we want to see what damage we can do.
Of course.
How many furniture things did you see break from that place?
A few, for
Yeah,
sure.
with people through them.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so that refrigerator didn't make it. But then you and I decided, why don't we just buy a cheap, small refrigerator?
Yeah, it didn't need to store a lot of food. It didn't need to be super active. It was just a thing that was going to go, in the center doorway that was unused. Sure.
Yeah. So we bought a white basic refrigerator, sold the sodas out of it, just had a sign on the front door that said, sodas, whatever, 79 cents
Whatever.
or something.
Yeah.
And we kept, our lunches on the bottom or whatever.
Yeah, and then you could keep ice in the freezer for parties and stuff.
Yeah. And then after we had that for a designated period of time, some beverage manufacturer, I think it was Dr. Pepper, offered us a full-size, full-bottle cooler.
Yeah, glass front cooler.
Yeah. And all we had to do was buy from them.
Right.
It wasn't ours to keep, it was ours to use.
Yeah, as long as we had an open account.
So we thought, yeah, we'll do that. So we had to have had the Rogues Gallery by then.
Yeah, I think what we eventually did...
Because we never moved it into the...
No. What eventually ended up happening is we switched soda suppliers from Dr. Pepper because we just were not getting enough of their
sure,
supplements.
but what I mean is, so we took that refrigerator
Right.
and moved it into the back of Sidekicks,
Right.
which is what back of the Rogues Gallery then.
Right.
Because I was trying to remember how long we had it there. But it went right into the back of that second room because it never went in the first room.
Yeah,
So
we
we
didn't
just-
have a dedicated back room that could have held it prior to having
Yeah.
Rogues Gallery and Sidekicks.
So then we moved it into the back, and at that point, it was just a refrigerator then. It wasn't a sales floor, and we had the soda cooler.
Yeah.
And then we had that for a long time. And then, as you were saying, we switched soda. We
Yeah.
switched from Dr. Pepper to Coke.
Yeah, and then we had the little half-height one that was in the corner for the longest time, and then eventually we got rid of that in favor of the new smaller one that we have.
We got rid of that in favor of nothing.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's definitely a more there, but regardless, what we have now is just a little 3-level one that goes near the front door.
Yeah. And it was the situation where we weren't even looking to replace it. It was offered to us. So we thought, fine.
Yeah, especially considering it's a nice red cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
Right back where we wanted to be.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's not a Crosley, but fine. It opens so easy. You don't have to go...
You can make that noise if you want. Nothing's stopping you.
It's too much effort. Well, that Crosley refrigerator that I referenced at the start of the story lasted from the early 50s to like 2009. The refrigerator that replaced it lasted from 2009 to this week.
Yes, earlier this week. Monday night, Tuesday morning.
Yeah. And it just goes to show you that things aren't built to last anymore.
No.
The name Craftsman, for example, doesn't have any meaning to it anymore. The Craftsman tools used to be built for life. I've got a Craftsman hammer from my dad that is still great, but the things you buy now, well, they've sold the name off. It's not even proprietary to Sears anymore.
Sure.
But now, screwdrivers strip so easily, handles break. Nothing is meant to last. Nothing was built the way it used to be. So we had to get a new refrigerator. We didn't have to. We chose to.
Correct.
It is not necessary to running our business, but we have gotten used to it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the ability to have water and other beverages and lunches and all sorts of things.
What have you?
What have you?
Anything you need to chill.
The occasional snack tray.
Exactly. And it's true that there's a local appliance store just around the corner that every morning sets up refrigerators out front and every night has to move them back in. Like the kind of thing that you would have seen in That Thing You Do.
Sure. Yeah.
The Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
The Tom Everett Scott movie.
Yes.
The Steve Zahn movie.
Yes.
The Liv Tyler movie.
Yes.
The Rita Wilson movie.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. But we opted to go a different route because we could get financing and no interest for a year and cheap payments. So what we did was we got the cheapest basic refrigerator you could get. And I think it's funny because you were looking at it and you said, God, these are way more than I thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I had an idea of what a dirt cheap refrigerator was that is probably 10 years out of date.
Yeah.
I did not realize the higher level of a dirt cheap refrigerator.
So it wound up being... So there was one price, but then taxes.
Yeah, well, because they give you a price and they're like, free delivery, and you're like, okay, great, let's get this one. Like, there's actually a cheaper one that charged more for delivery that made it basically a wash with a slightly better refrigerator.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's get this slightly better refrigerator with free delivery. Until...
Well, you have to understand the difference between delivery and installation.
Correct.
Delivery means we will bring this to your house.
It will cost you nothing for us to put it on a truck and then offload it from a truck to your front lawn.
Installation means we will bring it in your house.
We will actually put it where a refrigerator goes and hook it up and make sure that everything's working.
And in our instance, hook it up means plug it in.
Yeah, this isn't like...
We're not running water lines.
Yeah, this is not a refrigerator that makes ice or dispenses water or does, like, needs to get on the Wi-Fi or anything like that. Nope, not one of those refrigerators.
It does have some USB ports inside, but behind a drawer to where you couldn't ever plug anything in. So I'm not sure what it's for. Probably just for running diagnostics.
Yeah.
It also came with this adorable little ice tray bucket that the lid is like one ice tray.
Oh, okay.
And then you freeze it and then crack it into the bin.
Sure.
And then like you put more on top.
Interesting.
We're not using it because we have a different method.
Yeah.
But it was still very cute.
Yeah, that is.
And then a little plastic scoop inside as well.
That's neat.
It's like, oh, one ice maker at a time. So when you add taxes and installation and removal of the old refrigerator,
which is crucial.
Yeah.
Like it's not an operable refrigerator, but it's still like big. It didn't literally fall apart. So someone needs to take that out of there and dispose of it.
It still added a whole bunch of extra money to this transaction.
Sure.
But this was, I'm sure, for the people involved, the delivery people, their easiest transaction of the day. Our doorways are wide.
Right.
This refrigerator is narrow.
It's all on one level.
It's one level. There's all this open space. When I was talking to him, I'm like, just pull into the alley between us and the auto repair store, so you've got plenty of room. And they pulled up and then left in 16 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you mean left, you mean like it's like
drove away.
They installed the new refrigerator, like took the old refrigerator. Everything's done.
Yeah.
Wow. What time of day was those 16 minutes?
9 o'clock.
Okay, so not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. The shitty part for me was yesterday they had said, oh, your delivery window is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't live by the store anymore.
No, and even then, that's still
I don't open the store until 11 o'clock.
It's having to get to the store 4 hours early and stay an hour late.
So this time I only had to get there 3 hours early because I knew in advance it was
8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
Was the start of the window?
Yeah, which turned into 9 a.m.
Sure.
And I want the record to show I got there at 7:50.
Good for you. Thank you for doing that.
Wasted a whole hour and 10 minutes.
Did you get breakfast?
And the whole drive. Yeah, I did because I didn't know if I was going to have time to afterwards.
Sure.
I just stopped at Dunkin' on the way in. Nothing fancy.
That sounds good.
But then I had to, because the refrigerator is all taped and like there's plastic on every shelf.
Always, yeah.
There's pads on every shelf corner. Yep. So it had to be like disassembled and reassembled.
Yep.
And then everything had to go back in. It's very spacious.
I assume everything fits fine.
More than fine.
Uh-huh.
We have easily a full case of water bottles with plenty of room for more.
That's great.
It is something that is new to me. It's like an upside down fridge. The freezer's on the bottom. The refrigerator's on the top. And I've seen that before, but the freezer then would just be a big drawer.
Right.
It's not. It looks like...
It's a door?
It's basically a college fridge at the bottom, but it's a freezer.
Interesting.
You open it up, it's got 2 shelves and a drawer.
Okay.
So I moved the top shelf up, so basically it fits perfectly 3 2-stacked ice trays.
Okay.
And then the shelf under that has the ice bucket and a bag of ice.
Okay.
And then the drawer has another bag of ice.
Great.
There you go. I did get rid of all those old freezer bags, the frozen blocks that would come in
sure.
When my relatives said,
like you put in an igloo or something.
Like here's a case of pears. We had them shipped fresh, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Or ice packs.
Yeah.
Ice packs. But there's plenty of room inside, and there's a drawer, and then there's a flat deli container, like deli drawer, which now houses that bag of foreign Kit Kats that have been in the freezer or the refrigerator for well over a year.
Uh-oh.
And they're not yours, they're not mine.
Uh-oh.
But here's a funny part about it is like there's a drawer, crisper drawer, but like in the old fridge, we keep that full of cans of beer.
Okay.
So there's one point where Gina went back to get something out of the fridge, and somehow, and I don't know how, managed to completely pull the front of the drawer off of the drawer.
Ah!
She's like, oh, don't worry, I snapped it back on. Like, I didn't even know it came off.
Yeah.
I have not been able to repeat that. I do not know how she was able to pull that.
The drawer works, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
The thing with the drawer is, and this isn't a thing you have to worry about because you don't go into that drawer.
Right.
But it's only got 2 posts on one post on either side.
Right.
Midway through.
Okay.
So if you pull it too far, it's going to want to tip real hard.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But just the drawer, not the... Because, I mean, I don't think they expected to have that many cans of beer in it. Because it's not a beer drawer, it's a crisper drawer.
Yeah, that's where you put, like, lettuce and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Not in our fridge.
No.
The doors got room for bottles and things. The shelves are adjustable, but only 2 of the 3 are, and only each of those is only adjustable to one other spot.
Okay.
But anyway, that was taken care of this morning, and
Thank you.
Looks pretty. It's considerably taller, so it's a little harder to reach the top, but there's still plenty of room on the top.
Okay, great.
It went well.
That's great.
I think, like I said, it was the easiest delivery those guys probably had to do all day.
Nice. Well, I hope it started their day off right.
The ice already froze by the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Aluminum cans in the fridge were very cold by the end of the day.
Okay.
Bottles of water, not so much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, that's... I know it's a weird way to start the podcast with a story about a refrigerator, but...
I don't care. I wanted to hear it.
It was all work-related.
Yeah, I needed to... I wanted to know what happened with the refrigerator today. That was for my benefit.
And while I did have pictures I was sending people, I didn't send them to you.
No, thank you.
Because you were going to...
I was going to hear about all this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was doing my day in chronological order.
I see.
Then I got to
And then...
do something that is just one of my most favorite tasks related to Challengers. The mail came.
Ooh, the mail.
And in the mail, we got a check for $22.47 from People's Gas, Light, and Coke.
Is it because our account got turned off again?
When we get this check in the mail...
That's like the rebate of like, oh, this is how much you've overpaid. Now that you've closed your account,
Yeah.
we can't bill you anymore.
What this means is somebody moved in
Uh-huh.
upstairs, called to turn on the gas,
And they took our account.
and they took our account.
Uh-huh. Even though you've multiple times said, please put a note on there saying not to take our account. And then it always happens again.
That note is definitely there.
Uh-huh.
So, call People's Gas, and I even said, all right, Gina, I'm going to be on the phone for like a half an hour to an hour today.
Mm-hmm.
Call People's Gas, and this happens so often that I get a representative and just launch into it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, each time I had a call,
Yep. Every time. Forever.
was less like, it'll be a minute wait to get somebody.
Right.
So I explained the whole situation. The first person kept making me repeat things. I felt like they didn't understand it, but then when they got it, they were just like, ugh. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. So they kept putting me on hold, kept apologizing. They understood. They said, we see the account. We see the account was transferred to someone new, because they're like, you don't have an account. Your phone number doesn't match an account. Your name doesn't match an account. The account number you gave me is under someone else's name. I go, yeah, that's why I'm calling.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always very nice.
Right.
Because I know what this is. They probably haven't experienced it before.
I think the first time you were polite, and then the second and third times you were furious, and now you're polite again.
Do you know what time number this is, Dal?
7?
7.
Yeah, I guess.
It is number 7.
Yeah, I gotta say 4 and up was probably more like, no use getting angry about this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what the score is. Let's just get through it and fix it.
So, the first time I was on the phone for 19 minutes and 51 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And, what, you doing okay there?
Doing great.
And the call just got disconnected.
Uh-huh.
No one, like, they'd be like, all right, I gotta put you on hold again. I'm real sorry. Put you on hold. Then I'm on hold, and then I get a click, like, not the main menu, but a recording, like, saying, oh, you can call this number for this or whatever. Then it just hung up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, great.
Right.
So I have to just call back and start again. So I do, call the same number. When I get a representative, they are speaking Spanish.
Ooh.
And I said, I'm so sorry, do you speak English? They're like, yeah, you came through on the Spanish line. Like, I definitely did not pick...
Did not mean to.
I didn't push any buttons. All I did was say representative. Like, I didn't touch a single button.
Yep.
So that call was only 13 minutes and 5 seconds, and basically all they were doing was double checking that the initial person had in fact done the transfer and put it back. So this time our number didn't go up. We just got to keep, because every time they change our account number by adding a 004, 005.
Sure.
But they we were able to reactivate the old account. Nothing changed.
Great.
Which is also what they did last time. So even though this is the 7th time, we're still on 005.
Yep.
And she's like, look, your account still says, and one of the things you have to do is when you give the address, you have to say 1845 Northwestern Avenue, STO. That means storefront.
Okay.
so they know it's not a condo or anything upstairs.
Okay.
So our address specifically has a note that says, do not change this account. This is a retail account, not a residential account.
Right.
Don't change this. Do not assign it to somebody new. And both of the people assisting me today verified that.
Right.
Like, I didn't ask. They just said it.
Right.
But the second person said, look, that notice is on your account, specifically your account. I'm going to assign this, like, I'm going to put the same note to the property as a whole.
Good idea.
So hopefully...
Because, what was probably happening was that they weren't going into your account and changing it. They were just taking that place and assigning it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So they never even looked at your account to see the note on it.
So it'll happen again.
Probably.
And it's...
Let's hope it won't happen as often.
Easy enough to fix. It's just that it was, 35 minutes out of my day.
Right. And you have to do it, like, at least once a year.
Yeah. And it was...
the best times are where it happens in the wintertime, where it's like, oh no, we definitely need heat.
Yeah.
It's one thing when it happens, the day after the hottest day of the year, probably fine. Little leeway there.
Each individual People's Gas employee, none of them know why. Like, we don't know how this keeps happening. Mm-hmm. We're sorry. I'm like, it's not your fault. You didn't do it. Just fix it for me.
Yeah, as a company, though, it is your fault.
Yeah. That's why whenever they're like, oh, did you want to take a survey after? No.
You don't want me to.
I mean, you guys were great, but I'm going to be angry at People's Gas.
Right.
So let's not do a survey. But while I was on hold, somebody who had emailed us about fundraising things had come in to talk. Mm-hmm. But, they came in to buy comics, but also while they were right there, I heard them say to Gina, is that Patrick? Mm-hmm. But they could tell that I wasn't looking in their direction.
Right.
So I missed that. But after the fact, I was able to email them and be like, hey, I'm sorry, People's Gas, blah, blah, blah. But they're going to follow up with us later about that shopping spree thing.
Yeah, I mean...
And then a fundraiser in February.
I would definitely like to do that. We never figured out exactly how that was going to work.
And I always felt terrible because it's like, oh, no, you and I had talked about it. We never got back to the letter writer.
Right. I mean, I would have reached out if I felt like we had landed on something where we're like, yes, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is what we're going to offer. But it never felt like... It felt like we had discussed that without ever feeling certain about it.
Yeah, but we still want their input to make sure that it's worth their while for us to do it.
Sure.
1 penny per comic that we sell on a Sunday.
Love it.
100%
of our royalties.
Very generous. Very generous. I put up a survey, actually a poll, but it was a survey.
Okay.
On Patreon and social medias last week in regards to the podcast as a whole.
Okay.
And the question was, if we have an episode that's pushing 2 hours, should it be 1 2-hour episode or 2 1-hour episodes?
Okay.
Spaced a week apart. Mm-hmm. And unlike normal internet polls...
Which are always 50-50.
Yeah. This was basically 80-20.
Okay.
Make it 1 episode.
Wow. Okay.
Which, that's... My podcast listening has changed because of the changes in the comics industry.
Okay.
But I don't have that kind of commitment to our episode. But also, and this is selfish, a 2-hour episode requires twice as much work.
Yes.
From recording.
Yes.
From editing.
Yep.
From formatting and posting.
Yep.
So I think it's appropriate...
I would rather reward myself with a week off.
to post a 2-hour episode and then skip a week.
Yep.
But, and this question is to you.
Yes.
Would that episode get 2 numbers?
No.
Just one?
It would just be 1 double-length episode.
Okay.
Yeah. It would, in my estimation, it would count as 2 episodes for the amount of work that goes into it, but it wouldn't, have 2 numbers or anything like that.
But if it was an episode that was split into 2, like we did with Terry Gant one time...
Yeah, it would have 2 numbers.
That was 2 numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have an A and a B, but it didn't.
Why are you speculating about 2-hour-long episodes?
Well, as you know, Dal, next week is a very busy week for both of us.
Yes.
Personally.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I have things going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. There's no time to record and edit a podcast.
Is this a 2-hour-long episode? Is that what's happening? Is this one? This is 2 hours?
Yeah, I didn't. That's why I have the sandwich here.
Oh my god.
I need strength.
Oh my god.
No, that episode is already recorded. It was recorded almost 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
But it wound up
being 2 hours long?
Being knocking on the door 2 hours.
Okay. Wow.
It is with a good friend of the store, with a patron of the store, with one of the smarter people in the industry who's worked for a bunch of different publishers, and someone I just like talking to in the industry. And I'm not telling you who it is yet. It's a surprise for next week.
Okay. I mean, I think I could probably figure it out.
I think you probably can as well. You're a smart guy.
Yeah.
It's you.
Oh, no. Why don't I remember that 2-hour podcast we recorded? What happened
You
at
don't
the end of
remember
it?
any podcast we record. Be fair.
I remember that they were recorded. I don't remember what happened to them.
Oh. Yeah. So next week's is a little bit longer.
Okay.
And
week off.
I want a break. It's already a week off for you.
Yeah.
But do you get 2 weeks off?
Oh, boy. That's up to you, Patrick.
I mean, the fair thing is to have you do one on your own.
Nope.
With somebody else.
Incorrect.
We'll see. Oh, wow. That came through. There's a lot of good neck pop in there.
Well, that's exciting news for me. And maybe for the audience, too. I don't know. But I'm very excited.
This week's Lunar invoice was the first invoice I had a breakdown that has image books.
Is that right?
Because it's for the week after next, which would be the first week of September.
Right. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely right. I'm telling you, I did it. I know what's on the invoice.
Okay.
So I got to see how it's going to be, and it wasn't. Weirdly, that it rhymed. It's weird that it rhymed. When we get the Penguin Random House invoices, they are grouped by publisher, but randomly.
Okay.
When you open a Lunar shipment notification, it's in alphabetical order on the screen.
By title, yeah.
But when you download it, it goes by something else.
Okay.
I don't know.
Lunar codes, maybe?
Maybe, but it's weird how. But probably because it, and I never bothered looking to how because I change everything anyway. But for this, all of the image books were together.
Okay.
In the middle of DC books.
Oh, okay.
DC always has at the very end stragglers of a D cover here, a C cover there.
Interesting.
But the thing that I was most curious for is the format in which they would display image titles and issue numbers. And it is consistent with the way they do DCs.
Okay.
So it'll be title, CVR, A, name,
Okay.
full first name, last name of the cover artist, and then cover specification, foil, incentive, whatever. It just makes it more annoying to have to, like, basically it's still more, it's more work now with Lunar, with having image at Lunar than when it was at Diamond.
Okay.
Because I still have to alphabetize the Diamond things and break that down by publisher. Actually, not anymore. By product category. It's just one more clump of things that need to be reformatted to fit the specific ways we break down our lists for customers.
Okay.
That goes graphic novels, manga, YA and all ages, Marvel, DC, Image, everybody else, new number ones, merchandise.
Yes.
That is the format that we use.
Yep.
And it's just a third publisher of having to cram all these indies and stuff in, which, I mean, it already was, but now it's just longer. This was a week that orders were due for October, and it was one of the full orders from Lunar that we'd done where we've now switched over everybody that Lunar carries, that Diamond carries. We've switched all of it over to Lunar. And even stragglers like Drawn a Quarterly or oh man, I had a list. Is it in this? Is it in this book? It may be in this book. It's not in this book.
Silver Sprocket.
But there's two that
Ahoy.
There's two that weren't transferred over in our system yet.
Uncivilized Books.
Yeah. So it was the first week of doing that, and it's an adjustment. It's all just an adjustment.
Yeah. Yep.
But that means next week's shipment from them will be the first shipment of...
Yeah, I know there's some stuff that Image is still releasing through Diamond instead of through Lunar because of where it was initially ordered and delays in the release dates. So it'll be a few weeks, I think, before we finally are getting Image only from Lunar.
Well, it's funny because when I saw the shipment notification from Lunar, then I saw the DOM on it, I'm like, why is it so much more this week? And then I found out why.
Well, and also DC is out of Night Terrors, which means we're back to books that we order a lot of copies of.
Can I tell you
like Batman.
What DC has in the first week of September?
Go ahead.
Birds of Prey #1.
Getting a lot of those.
Fire and Ice #1.
A lot of those.
Blue Beetle #1.
Some of those.
3 #1s in the first week.
It's a lot. I mean, that was my frustration with...
That whole catalog.
The month of September from DC was that because they had 2 straight months of not really launching new books for their superhero brands because everything needed to be Night Terrors, suddenly you had September roll around and it's like, oh, this is 3 times as many #1s as you had back in June.
Yep. And also Batman.
Yeah.
But it's just like, 3 big not big, 3 #1s.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation that I would have preferred them to maybe not do Night Terrors and spread some of these other books out in July and August, where they could have done us some good. But that's just me.
Even, like, as happy as we were with our Night Terrors sell-throughs the first week, it's the same as always. There's plenty. But there's several that we don't have any of, but we still have.
Yeah.
The fact that we have any on the shelf, it just means I'm like, meh.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the goal more or less was to have no Night Terrors on the shelves once the one-shot comes out, but that was unrealistic.
Also unrealistic is expecting non-damaged books.
How bad was PRH today?
Well, the PRH reorder, one box was a big square box that looked like it had pops in it.
Okay.
And when I first saw that box, I'm like, ooh, who's that one from? Panorama House.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting because the majority of the books were standing up on their spines.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
More than half of the books were damaged.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So,
This was restock or this was...
Restock.
Oh man.
It was an order that some stuff already came in earlier because it was already all checked off of.
Okay.
But, just a general PRH restock box.
Okay, graphic novels.
Yes.
Okay, this was comics.
No.
Okay, yeah. So when you were like, they were spine up, I'm like, oh god, why would you ever pack comics that
So
way?
they're spine up,
you
but
lunatics.
they're also not in size order, so there's like big gaps and everything.
Sure.
But like I said, more than half the box was damaged.
Yeah. That's
and
terrible.
They weren't, and the box is all...
Book shipping from Penguin Random House is still very hit or miss.
Oh, yeah. And the box was still beat to shit as well.
Yep. That's why you would pack it better. So when the box gets beat to shit, the comics and graphic novels are still okay inside.
I took photos and posted them on social media.
Yeah.
You know that immediately you cannot place... You can't fill out a damage report for those books because there's too many.
Yeah, that's true.
So I tried anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Wasted my time.
Yeah.
So then I had to write an email.
Yeah, I saw the response to the email, but I didn't know what it was for. I just assumed it was like incentive variance.
The response email was just, sorry, we're busy. We'll
right,
get
but
you.
like when that happens, I know that you had to send them an email.
Yeah.
Which means that there was something that you couldn't do the automated OSD report on, which again, in my mind, is always, oh, that's an incentive variant, because you have to email them to say, we had an incentive variant.
Yeah.
This is how it was damaged. Here's a picture of it. Please replace it.
So I sent them a photo. I pointed out how it may not seem like it, but we often eat some damages.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because we figure it's good enough.
Yeah.
When more than half the box isn't good enough, I'm like, no, I'm reporting all these.
Yes.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's what I did.
Okay.
I checked in the half for argument's sake,
Sure.
of the order that came in.
Okay.
I didn't delete the other half because I'm waiting for them to respond and say, yeah, we're going to replace them.
Okay. The only problem... So you told them you wanted replacements?
No, I said we're not. I said no. I said don't replace them. We're going to...
Sure. Take the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll reorder them ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I would just go ahead and delete all those.
But I didn't, because what if they kick it?
I would be shocked if they did.
Right, but I'm trying to cover the bases.
And even if they do, it's not like we can shelve those books. Like, either way, that needs to be deleted from the order because we can't...
All right, I'm sorry I'm being cautious. I'm sorry I'm trying to do things the right way.
Okay.
I highlighted everything, saved the invoice, and left those books on the back counter.
Sure.
Just to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I don't think that they're going to complain.
I have had entire orders that were completely screwed up, and while you can't report them automatically, when you send them an email and you're like, hey, here's what happened, here's some photos, here's an explanation, they will just say, like, yes, we will credit you for those. They may want them back, but I don't think I've ever had Penguin Random House say, please send back damaged books.
Well, one of the annoying things is that the books don't look so bad in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
The picture is more to be like, look how you packed them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of the requests for photos are things where it's like, if you had this in your hands, you could hold it and go, yep, that's screwed up. But the way the wrinkled paper or the creased cover blends in with
a reflection
or the ink means it's like, this looks fine to you. If you were here in the store, you would not buy it.
Definitely frustrating.
Yeah.
And it adds
Comics are okay to do that?
so much extra work to then have to wait 2 weeks to replace those books.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because even if you order them on Sunday, they're not coming for a week and a half.
Yeah, more or less.
So it's like, oh, these books we were counting on selling this week or this weekend.
Always.
Go fuck yourself.
Kind of, yeah.
You can't have them.
No.
Can't have them. Yeah, there was one copy of one damage that I left because I figured I'd...
None of the incentives, no shortages or anything? Every box showed up?
As far as I know.
Okay. I mean, there was a check-in sheet if there was like 8 books that were not in there.
Also because Lunar had all their catalogs up.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got the DC catalog.
Yep.
They've got the Image catalog.
Yep.
And then their middle catalog, I forget what it's called.
Yeah. It's like everybody else.
Yeah. It's everybody. It's including DC and Image.
Interesting. I never looked at that one.
So I already did the new title.
Oh, okay. I had downloaded some images already. They were in the images folder.
Oh.
Because I've been doing the email for subscribers.
Okay. I wonder if we picked some of the same things.
Maybe. I mean, I just did DC and Image. Marvel's catalog went up today, I think. And you would hate it.
I did hate it. I looked through it.
Marvel comic books.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Don't worry, there's a new Thanos series by Chris Cantwell. That could be something.
It's a whole bunch of miniseries that you're just like, but why? Like, even the one book that I'm like, I think this could actually be kind of good is Thunderbolts, and it's like, this is just the movie cast before the movie comes out so you can have a movie trade to sell. Like, none of this makes any sense in a Marvel Comics universe. It only makes sense in a cinematic universe.
I highlighted Superior Spider-Man, Thanos.
Okay.
I had White Widow.
Oh,
but I bumped it.
So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that was from the last catalog because it's shipping the first week of November.
Yeah.
So it was in the October one, but now they also put it in the November one.
Right, like Gods.
Because of where FOCs are going to land. Yeah, it's Jeff. Is in both catalogs, I think.
I didn't use that one. But because I had access to the entire Lunar catalog, I was able to add other stuff as well.
Okay, cool.
Going against my instinct, but wanting to highlight two amazing creators, Tula Lotte and Becky Cloonan. Their book made it.
Distillery?
No, it's called like Shima.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's on the that's on there. The James Tynion Christmas horror book is on there. The Deviant.
Oh yeah. No, I put that in the catalog.
The DC ones that made it were Batman Offworld and Batman Santa Claus Silent Night.
Didn't pick that one. I did Offworld. I did the new Batman 89 and Superman 78.
Yeah, I didn't do those.
And then what was there was like a bigger DC one.
Oh, Titans Beast War.
Yeah, Beast World.
I did that one as well.
And then some other Batman thing that was coming out. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the Silent Night thing. It was something else. Don't know.
There was nothing to me that sang out as big book for the month. So that it's just 2 rows of smaller ones. But I mean, you can change or get rid of whatever you want.
No, I mean, are you done with it or are you still working on it?
I'm done with it.
Okay. Then I mean, just leave it on the front desk.
I did.
Okay. Because we got to do banners and stuff.
You're
so
still welcome to change it.
I'm not going to.
I've made flyers for events because we have. Let's talk about events for a second.
Okay.
Wednesday, September 6th, we have first-time comic writer Griffin Sheridan, and he's a co-writer of the new Image series Kill Your Darlings.
Yep.
With art by Bob Quinn. He does a lot of work with Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates's Kids Love Chains.
Okay.
Substack, podcast, all that stuff. And I read Kill Your Darlings #1. It reminds me a lot of Joe the Barbarian.
Yes.
From Grant Morrison and Sean Gordon Murphy. I didn't know what to expect for it. I still don't, because the whole first issue, you don't know what's happening.
Right.
You don't really know what the book is yet. But I honestly enjoyed it. So he'll be signing that book on Wednesday, September 6th.
That's cool.
That Saturday, September 9th, Steph Myded, whom we love and has done a lot of work for us branding the store and things,
Yes.
will be in signing her written and drawn wrestling mid-grade graphic novel Club Kickout. It's about a group of school kids who form a wrestling club.
Yeah, pro wrestling club.
Yeah. And it's great. It's so much fun. It's so bright. All new wrestling characters. And I tried really hard to get a wrestler to be at the signing as well. And when I say a wrestler, I mean any wrestler. Keith Lipinski from AAW was working real hard on that for me. But it's a big book today. Everybody is wrestling somewhere.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I reached out to people that I knew locally, but I struck out and he wasn't having any luck. So, I mean, you don't need a wrestler there because Steph is more than enough.
Yep.
But I thought it'd be fun to have an actual wrestler there as well.
For sure.
Just, selling t-shirts or 8x10s or whatever. So that is September 9th, which is a Saturday. Right? Good. Okay. I feel like I'm missing something already. I feel like there's something in the middle of the month. Yeah, Batman Day.
Batman Day.
Batman Day is the following Saturday, which is September 16th. And we're going to have Alex Rosado and Damon Hampton and the usual Batman Day goodness.
Yeah.
Those books are on the shipment next week as well.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, Batman Day. Then, just added, brand new event, Saturday afternoon, September 30th, we've got Brian Posehn signing. Stand-up comic, actor, voice actor, metalhead, all-around nice guy. Oh, also a comic book writer.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote a ton of Deadpool.
Yep. A lot of stuff with Jerry Dugan.
Yeah, and he's got the new collection of all the Scott McTiernan books from him and Jerry Dugan and Scott Koblish. The collection of that. Scott McTiernan versus the World. He'll be signing that and anything else. And that is on September 30th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And he's also performing at the Beat Kitchen that night.
Wow.
So it could be
very
a
cool.
Brian Posehn day for everybody. And one of the best things about the Brian Posehn signing is that he called us.
Yeah, it was very nice of him.
It was
He
pretty
called
funny.
you specifically.
Because Molly answered the phone, and she saw that it said Brian Posehn on the caller ID, but she wasn't. It could be someone has the same name.
Sure, why not?
And then Brian asked for me. He's like, "Hey, can I talk to Patrick?" And Molly's like, "Can I ask who's calling?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's Brian Posehn. I'm a comic book writer."
Which is true.
It's true.
Which is a very fun way to introduce yourself.
So she tentatively, she's like, "I think it's Brian Posehn." But yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, I know Brian."
Molly is distrusting by nature.
That's fair. So Brian Posehn signing. Excellent.
Very cool.
And then, also finalized this week, on, I think it's Wednesday, October 4th,
Okay.
everybody's 3 favorite initials.
WDB. No, it's not.
Man, you stepped on my joke.
I'm sorry. Was it really? WDB? That can't be right.
It was going to be along those lines, but it was going to be his, but out of order, but you broke up the cadence.
Oh, okay, cool.
The rhythm's over.
Okay.
The initials, randomly, are JDW. Daniel Warren Johnson.
Hey.
Signing Transformers #1. The day Transformers #1 comes out. We honestly thought it wasn't going to happen.
For sure, yeah. The release date of the book and a nearby convention made it seem like it was probably not going to line up for us. But then it somehow
But it worked out. And Dan said, and I quote, "Book it."
Book it.
So it's booked.
Tony Khan GIF, book it.
Tony Khan has made it official.
Yeah.
Daniel Warren Johnson is
Daniel
signing.
Warren Johnson signing at Challengers for the release of Transformers #1. I've read a copy of Transformers #1
So have I.
via Skybound PDF.
So have I.
Thank you, Skybound, for that.
Thank you, Skybound.
I really enjoyed it. If you are someone who is more of a Daniel Warren Johnson fan than a Transformers fan, I think you're still going to find a lot in it that you're going to enjoy. If you're a Transformers fan who maybe has not really read the comics, you're going to love it because it's very, very much indebted to the 1984 to 86 cartoon series by Sunbow. If you are a fan of the Transformers from previous comic
Sunbow
universes,
sounds like a Japanese university mascot.
could be. If you're a fan
I
of
think he's like a
Transformers
little bar-like elephant.
previous
Sunbow.
comic continuities, I think you're going to like this one. It's maybe a little more like square one than you might be expecting compared to some of the recent reboots. But there's enough very fun changes in it that it seems like it's going to go to some very cool directions very quickly. I don't want to make this thing sound like, it's going to work for everybody, but I think it's going to work for a lot of people, and I enjoyed reading it, and I'm excited to see where Dan takes it.
And then we've talked earlier this year about having a Halloween party. Hell, we may have already announced it. I don't know.
I think we did.
We're doing a Halloween party on Saturday, October 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not doing it. We're going to have one. We'll be there.
We'll be hosting one.
See, I wasn't...
We'll be housing one?
Maybe. The guest star, or co-host, Andrew McLean.
From Headlopper.
From Apocalyptic Girl.
From his new book.
Snarlagon. Promoting his new book, Snarlagon, which is a all-ages kaiju book that we will have at the event. Andrew McLean. Costumes requested, 21 and over. Andrew McLean Halloween party.
Excellent.
And that just takes us through October. I didn't even mean to do a big pitch about events, but there's so many of them.
There really are, yeah.
I honestly need to. I am amazed.
We were talking to a creator earlier this week who had stopped by for a book, who mentioned that they have a new book coming out next year in March, and wanted to make sure we were carrying it. And we were like, "Do you want to do an event?" And so it's like we kind of have something on the books for March of next year.
We got something tentative for early December of this year, and yeah, they just they keep coming. I'm happy to keep November a little emptier, though.
Yeah, you had broached that on Wednesday as things were sort of mounting, and you were like, maybe November we don't do any events. But it's like...
But you never know what's going to fall on your lap.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we mentioned the Brian Posehn when Brian Posehn reached out.
Yeah,
like,
maybe Patton Oswalt's going to call, you know?
It's not like we were going to say, like, hey, man, I'm sorry, we just don't feel like it right now. Like, no, we will absolutely make that happen, yes. And yeah, if Patton Oswalt called up and was like, hey, I want to do something for the new Minor Threats miniseries, it's like, well, shit.
After you apologize to us... It's a longer story.
Yeah, Patrick will gladly tell why Patton Oswalt is his enemy story if you come to the store.
That's going to make this an awkward segue. So, I haven't done this at all this season, but we're getting really close to the Alzheimer's 5K.
Yes.
That my brother and I are doing in memory of our mother. Mm-hmm. And... years past, I would record a whole segment and just play it for the weeks leading up to the event on this podcast. I didn't do that this year. I'm really low-key fundraising. Mm-hmm. But if anybody wants to donate...
My mom was asking about it today.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Diane. You can go to rememberingfrancis.com. rememberingfrances.com. And that'll give you more information of where you can donate, where the angelfire.geocities. A little bit more about her story and where the money goes. And don't feel obligated. If you want to, it's there. Alzheimer's is a disease that I'm pretty sure we will all live to see the first survivor from.
Nice.
Because the research is going in good directions.
Yeah, very positive directions.
My brother is now the... chair of this event. He took it over a few years ago.
When is the 5K?
It is September, the day after the Ash Nigo concert. Does that help you?
No. Early September, late September?
It's the Sunday your mom's here.
Okay, so mid-September.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the 16th, I want to say.
Sure. 16th.
Whatever the Sunday is that weekend. So yeah, if you care, rememberingfrancis.com.
How nice.
That's very kind of you. And gosh, we're pushing the end of this, he says, knowing next week's is longer. But I got, I feel like...
Speed run, let's do it.
Well, I wanted to talk about the stuff that I've read this week.
Okay.
But also,
I read some stuff this week.
There is...
I read a DC book, some new DC preview on it. Flash. I read The Flash.
I read The Flash as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
I got a note at the store today that Molly left that says, Chris McFalda brought these in. He heard you mention on the podcast, and he's an electrician. And it was a bag full of ballast.
Wow.
Which is great. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, Santa.
I don't... there's not enough wires on each of them.
So they're not ballast that we could use?
Well, maybe they are. Maybe I just don't know enough about it. But more than that, since I'm not... I didn't have time today to dig like I wanted to find out more about Chris McFalda. Mm-hmm. But... if Chris is listening and is for hire, let's talk about
transitioning the light fixtures.
Converting the light fixtures to LEDs. If you hear this and you're interested in doing that, please reach out. Thank you for the ballasts. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Keep reading. Oh wait, no. So Dal, I found a thing today that is just gonna blow comics retail wide open for us.
Ready for it.
The Ultimate Guide to Comic Books.
Ooh.
It is a square-bound magazine from the Hollywood Spotlight.
Ooh.
Everything you need to know from the Golden Age to today.
Start over. What's the Golden Age?
Read the magazine and find out.
Jesus.
Seminal stories and event series. Indies, horror, underground, and more.
My favorite underground characters like Wolverine and Batman.
Holy classic characters, Batman.
Oh, God. 2023, huh?
Yeah. Do you know what this magazine cost me?
Let me rephrase that.
You know what this magazine cost the store?
I hope nothing.
$14.
Jesus.
I got it, though, because I'm flipping through it, and it's It's pretty fascinating what they choose to cover and what they don't choose to cover.
Yeah, I love that. Like one of the first images is
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer Batman.
And then we go right into Bob Kane.
Oh God.
Yeah. Bill Finger.
I hope it's shitting all over Bob Kane.
Well, look at this.
I hope it's
Batman co-creator Bill Finger.
Oh well.
That's something.
Did at least tell the Jim Steranko story? That is the number one thing I know about Bob Kane at this point, and I love that. I love that that's the first thing I think of when I hear that guy's name.
All right, so then it breaks it down into eras.
Uh-huh.
Look, there's another Batman.
Here's another movie Batman.
Talking to you. Wildcat's in it, though. Kurt Swan.
Sure.
Nicholas Hammond. I gotta find the specific thing. You know, it shows like Phil Seuling is mentioned in it later.
Okay.
Obviously, Bill Gaines, Robert Crumb, Art Spiegelman.
Okay.
You know, the guy from Mouse. They got it right here. Oh, man. Commandy has become a cult classic over the years. The Eisner Award-winning The Walking Dead spawned a massively successful AMC series. Right?
Why are those together? What? Why?
We'll read it. We'll find out. But this is actually integral to one of the reasons that I thought this magazine was going to be... Look, it's got TV stuff. Secret Wars characters. Frank Miller. I'm convinced his neck is broken, or his shoulders are broken, because every picture you see him, he's like this.
Yeah.
Like
it's
he's
an unnatural pose. Yeah.
There is... there's Uber distributor Phil Seuling. American flag. A big shout out to the Badger. DN Agents. Howard Chaykin. Count Crowley and The Mask and the Predator together. And so it does a good job of 80s indies and whatnot.
Okay.
Then we're in the 90s. Here we go. Image titles like The Walking Dead, Wanted, and Wildcats have huge fan bases and have been adapted into other mediums.
Oh, whoops.
What do you see there, Dal?
Aircell's comic, The Walking Dead, from 1989.
That well predates
Oh, no.
Image's Walking Dead.
I like that because they picked the one that said zombie special on it. So it's like, oh, that must be The Walking Dead. Whatever intern that was supposed to be pulling images, yeah.
But they got it right earlier.
Oh, but then they don't here because it's like this. So they do a thing for Supergirl didn't survive the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and so they used a cover for the 100-page giant Crisis on Infinite Earths that was tying into the CW miniseries.
Oh God, that's funny.
So it uses aspects of Crisis number 8's cover, but then it adds in all this other stuff.
Dal, what is that chapter called?
Women in Refrigerators. There's a picture of Gail Simone who coined that term.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be full of stuff where it's like, yes, but no, no.
Look, we're going to learn a lot, okay?
Uh-huh.
We're going to be better retailers because of this.
There's a little picture for Civil War, the 2006 miniseries. No, this is written by Saladin Ahmed and drawn by Ryan Kelly. It's a Marvel Snapshots event.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It literally says it right on the front. This is
Nice.
Marvel Snapshots Civil War, not the actual Civil War miniseries. Oh, man.
Okay, give it back. Enough about that.
Okay. It's just, this would just drive me crazy looking through this.
Which is why you should give it back.
Okay.
What'd you think of the Flash #1?
I enjoyed it. Cy Spurrier sent out a little email to retailers.
Did you watch the video?
I didn't.
I did. He does not look like what I thought he would look like.
Okay. The letter he sends out is interesting because it's kind of giving a little bit of context for what's going to be happening and how weird this whole thing's going to be. And his main point of comparison is Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, where it's like, this was a superhero thing and it exists in a superhero universe, but it's going in a much more like horror direction and much more like science fiction, cosmic horror vibe.
Cosmic horror is the genre that he's using to describe.
Yeah. And even the first issue of The Flash, which ostensibly is a very like clear link between how he's been written recently by guys like Jeremy Adams and where it's going, the layouts are very creepy and the designs are less heroic and more kind of tortured, and even like the relationship with his family is a lot more mature and kind of falling apart in a real specific a marriage is falling apart vibe.
I did not know some of the stuff that happened recently.
Me neither. But
I read all the Joshua Williamson stuff, but I didn't read all the Jeremy Adams stuff.
I think they bring you up on it, and it's stuff where I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, there was clearly a point where Iris was a speedster, and she's not anymore. And I guess it's because she was pregnant. Linda? Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of Barry Allen's wife.
Yeah.
Linda was pregnant with the next West baby.
Flash baby.
And that was giving her super speed. And now that she's given birth, she doesn't have super speed anymore, so she's the one member of the family that doesn't have it anymore. But overall, I really liked it. It's very, very weird. And it's very much for people who want kind of the polar opposite of what Jeremy Adams was doing with the Flash family. It is darker. It is creepier. It is way more like of a deconstructionist take on the Flash.
I would think that a good way to describe this would be if they were to retitle this book, The Immortal Flash.
Maybe.
One of the things that kind of drives me insane is they have a brand new logo.
Yes.
And you've seen the logo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The logo is fine, except for the A, the biggest letter right in the middle.
Yeah.
It has a silhouette or a cutout of the Flash.
Yes.
What is Flash doing, Dal?
He's not running.
He's standing still.
Yep.
He's standing and looking straight ahead.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's a
What?
choice.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a choice.
What is that? I appreciate a new logo,
Sure.
but I think it's a really interesting start. The art is incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
Not what you expect from Flash art.
No, I mean, it's way more about slowing down the story as much as it possibly can, which is a really interesting choice and kind of gives you an idea of where they want to go with this. That it's not just about, like, you know, excitement and motion. It's like, no, there's another thing they want to talk about.
But they're keeping his supporting cast and everything as it was set up by Jeremy Adams.
Sure. I had not realized that Jeremy Adams had, or maybe Josh Williamson, it's been a long time since I was reading The Flash, that one of the schoolmates of Wally's daughter is Buddy Baker's daughter.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, so I think that might just be new for this book.
It took me a page, and then I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Which is very cool, and I love stuff like that. I don't, like, that alone is almost an indication of, like, hey, remember Grant Morrison's Animal Man? How it was this thing, and then it very quickly became this other thing, and now it's better known for what it turned into? These are kind of the touchstones of what Cy Spurrier is doing with The Flash, is Grant Morrison Animal Man, Alan Moore Swamp Thing, essentially the pre-Vertigo superheroes, like all that sort of stuff. When it was still part of the DC universe and those characters could show up in other stuff, but what the creators were doing with them in their own books was incredibly weird.
Yep. I read Wonder Woman 1 and 2.
Okay, I read 1. I didn't... 2 I'll read when it comes out.
I know. That's your MO, but I will read whatever they give me in PDF form.
Sure.
And I like them both. I like that everything that they build up to in the end of 1, we don't touch in 2. Never even mentioned.
Okay, interesting.
It's more about what happens in the beginning of 1.
Okay.
And it's playing with flashbacks and things, but I like the story it's telling. I really like Tom King's take on Diana.
Yeah.
That, and I can't remember which one is which, but that the fight scene with the soldiers.
It's at the end of 1.
Okay, that's
yeah. Which is great. I mean, 1 is an issue that is very much about building up this much bigger idea of what's going on and introducing kind of an antagonist character for her to deal with, but then the end of issue 1 is very like, do you want to see a cool fight scene? You will get to see a cool fight scene.
But also, this is everything you like about this character.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I really like it.
Art's good. I read the first 2, like it. And there's backups. There'll be backups moving forward.
Yeah.
I think Trinity starts in 3.
I think
Go figure.
Right. Yeah.
In 3. I also read an entire graphic novel from Humanoids
Okay.
called Urban Legendz. Legendz with
Busy
a Z.
week for you.
Yeah. I think there's more, but I can't remember what else it was.
I meant to read because Marvel gave us a preview today of God's #1.
Yeah, they didn't give it to us yesterday
No.
when I was reading all these
Right.
previews.
I downloaded it, and then I'm like, I should get back to that before the podcast. Did not get back to it before the podcast. We'll try and read it tonight.
Urban Legendz is a real fun YA book about a family who moved from Indiana to New York, and the younger kid meets up with some kids his age who are doing their own thing, but also some weird monsters are attacking the city that they keep seeing happen, but no one believes them.
Okay.
So they decide they could take these monsters on their own. And it's what's happening, why, and it's a lot about community and neighborhoods. And
That's cool.
it's fast paced. It's fun. It reminded me a little bit of the Three Investigators novels I used to read as a kid.
Okay. Not Investigators.
Kind of.
John Patrick Green's
No,
Investigators.
I mean,
For the audience.
yes, kind of that very much. And there was another. Epsilon was part of the words. Sorry, Holly, I can't remember the name of that graphic novel. There's a new creator who it has they're very young, their first major graphic novel, and it looks great.
That's cool.
And I'm like,
Nice to hear.
is this the new Tilly Walden? Is this
Wow.
the new Zoe Thorogood?
Wow.
Is this someone I should stop comparing to other people and let them be their own person?
Well, let their book come out first.
Yeah. I did not. I read about it. I didn't read it.
Okay.
So that was good. I feel like I read some other stuff too, but I don't remember. I didn't write them down. I only wrote down Urban Legendz, Flash, and the 2 Wonder Womans. There's other DC stuff I read though too. Green Lantern 3.
Okay.
And this is the issue that will be splitting off John Stewart into
John Stewart,
War Journal.
Green Lantern War Journal.
Yeah. It's Green Lantern is very much here's where we're at the end of 2. 2 led directly into
Night
Terrors, and then it puts them right back to where it was in the 2.
I figured it was gonna.
Yeah. It's referenced,
Fine.
but yeah. I'm liking...
Like, even Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War mentions Night Terrors, but it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just like, this was a thing that happened.
Anything else you read?
I don't think so. I read, I always have to stop myself from saying Devil's Due. Distillery's Devil's Cut.
Yeah.
Yep.
I read Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville 1 and 2. I think the book is super fun.
I read 1 and it was really good.
It's Joanne Starr, who is suddenly, their name is everywhere.
Kind of.
They're doing a lot of books. They do Sirens of the City for Boom.
Yep.
And they've got a graphic novel coming out from Humanoids. And they're doing some other stuff. But it really gives me a vibe of She-Hulk meets Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Okay.
As far as visually, artistically, and story-wise.
Part of DC's push for it, she mentions it's, maybe she mentions or someone else mentions, it's basically Schitt's Creek in the DC universe, but I didn't watch that show, so I didn't catch that reference.
That's fair.
But for people who did, I guess that's the vibe is, big city superheroes move to a small town, it does not go super great. They have to learn to adjust. The town has to learn to adjust. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I read Blue Beetle #1. I think I talked about that last week or so. It very much picks up after graduation day, and it's kind of building a Power Rangers world for Blue Beetle. Cool. But I think that was already established. I just hadn't seen it before.
Okay.
And I guess that's all I can remember that I read.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So, Dal, you're off next week.
Yay!
I hope you enjoy your time off.
I hope I do too. I'm sure I will.
And for everyone else, you will get almost 2 hours of me next week. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.